Wow, that's pretty good for the first one. Wow, you guys are learning. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. I've got some things I'm gonna need your cooperation in with today for today's sales meeting. So you're actually gonna be participating along. So pay attention. We got a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of good details of information that's really gonna help you with your business. So let me start things up here. Hide this thing. Yes. All right, so Rock and Bowl, right? 2025, it's fun. How many people went? Yay! Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We look forward to doing that event each year, and we're going to continue to do that. How many people went to the top producer event? That was fun. I was teasing McKenna. I'm like, you couldn't fit me in one more photo? Like, really? It was a great event. We did have, we had really good details and information from that event, from those of you that did go to it. But a lot of the stuff that the analytical report was showing, some really good details about what they think interest rates are going to do. I'll let Aaron cover all that kind of stuff, but we're going to at least show you some of the stuff I've got from that presentation. But keep in mind that Jim is out of town. Guess where he's at?
Mexico.
Wrong. He's not in Mexico. Where?
Spain.
Yeah, he is gone though, but you know what? Tony and I are here, obviously. And of course, he probably would answer his phone if you called him, and you already know this. But just keep that in mind. Obviously, the office will be closed on Monday for Memorial Day. Do not forget computation of time. So every contract you're writing right now and everything that's coming up for deadlines, 5 days or less, weekends and holidays do not count. 6 and greater, they count, but you can't land on a Saturday, Sunday, or legal holiday. So please do not forget that. We want to welcome Katie Larson, who has joined our group. He's in the back. He came over from Puyallup, and we're really happy she's here. And speaking of staff, can we give them a huge round of applause for today's lunch? And Aaron as well for cooking the steak and the chicken and making the salad dressing. Yeah. We haven't done this since December, I was told, and this is always like a group favorite, at least for lunch. It's better than the tacos, pizza, or Jimmy John's, right? Not a lot of options out there when it comes to catering. But anyways, thank you so much, staff. We can't do what we do without you. You guys are extremely important. Welcome our newest team members, Betsy, Doug, Carlos, Eric, Martin, Harpreet, and then welcome back Gurwinder. Thank you guys. Market conditions. So let's take a look at a few things. Tariffs are still in talks. Yes, they're paused for 90 days. You guys know what that did to the markets? Oh, they paused and everything went back up. But consumer confidence is still low. This was at the end of April. It has actually made a little kind of hook now. So it is rising, but rising slowly. The S&P has bounced back almost to the levels of where we were before all the tariffs talk happened, which is strange. But it kind of makes sense. I think people are kind of like, whatever. I mean, things are happening, but I'm just going to worry about what's going on in my world. I found this really interesting. This is material costs, pricings, how much it surged since 2016 to 2020 is the dark lines for all of these types of material when it comes for construction. But then look at the prices from 2020 to now. That is the increase. So when you guys are like, you know, why can't I find many new construction homes right now? Or, you know, what's going on? Why do we still have low inventory? It's because the demand is still greater than the supply. But it's crazy to actually see the percentages of how much things have gone up.
That's crazy.
So obviously uncertainty ahead. Maybe. The funny thing is nobody's got the crystal ball. Everyone's just trying to stay focused. They're trying to figure things out. You can't figure it out. You're not gonna figure it out until things kind of happen. Obviously, countries are in talks, the trade wars, they're trying to settle things. It's just things are gonna happen the way they happen, but no one's gonna know until we know. All right, are you on the board? Are you on the listing board, that is? In April, we had exactly the same amount of listings as we had in March for new listings in the office. We had 86 new listings in April, and of course, we are off the floor again, onto the, off the board. So that's great. So that means we're gonna have 2 drawings today. Mr. Tony, you wanna come on up? What is the prize?
Oh, we're taking you guys out to lunch. We do fancy
Lunch?
unless you want Red Robin group.
Yeah, unless you want Jimmy John's. I don't know, people might pick the salad bar.
Nobody for Bradley soon.
Oh.
I like Gavin.
Oh, not here.
Not here. Gotta be
Might be present to win.
They're gonna do like 5.
Nope. Jane Wodowski, nope.
Tony Lopez and Lucy. No,
Steve's not here though.
I'm serious. But. Gotta be present.
Gotta be present to win, Steve. They just wrote the code.
Anyone here today?
Ramon. Oh.
Every time.
It gives somebody an opportunity.
No.
Sorry.
No. Jim's not here.
Jim's not.
Jim, not sure.
But he's not right here.
Dennis?
Dennis? No, he usually makes it too.
Dennis is on Zoom. Dennis is here.
Carlo.
Carlos. Oh. Wow, pays to be here. I was craving Asaderos too, Tony. Man.
I'll go ahead.
Wow.
You got a RSVP to be in the list. You
Yeah,
know,
we
all the names.
Shirley Grendel? No, they're on Zoom, but you gotta be here in person.
Oh, this was a name. John Martin.
No, John's not here.
Janet Gibb.
Janet Gibb?
Not here.
No, must be present to win. All those online. Did you hear their name?
Vanessa Benton.
No. All right, that's it. And
Janet Gibb again.
Janet Gibb again, she had multiple listings. Oh, Nick and Chelsea. No.
Troy?
Troy Kerr.
Where's
He was here last night.
That's why he's not here today.
Oh,
Shane?
no. Chelsea.
No, usually we don't for fun.
So they're working.
Me again, meeting's over.
Oh, my
How many names are left?
God. Well, we had 86. Famous. Wow.
Thank you.
So, yeah, you must be present to win. I think what we'll do next time, we're gonna like put the names in as people show up, and then we'll know for sure. It's time for a little pop quiz. They got quiet. I can hear the back. All right, so get your thinking caps back on here. A, B, or C is the name of the game. So on your handouts, you should see an A, B, and a C. Yeah. So everybody should have them. And everyone get them out.
Oh.
So we're going to actually
Oh, that.
have a first question here. And when you know the answer, you're gonna hold it up and keep it up. Okay? So here comes question number one. Buyers obtaining financing using a down payment assistance program. The DPA is $100,000 down payment assistance. How do you fill in lines 7 through 10? Do not shout out the answer. Do not say the answer. You're just gonna show either A, B, or C, and you're gonna hold it up, okay?
All right.
7 through 10.
All right, so let's look at this, break it down. How are you gonna fill this out? 7 through 10. It's DPA.
Okay.
Everyone got it?
Yep.
You ready? All right. Want me to read it one more time, just in case?
No.
Everyone's got it? All right. Is it A, put $100,000 on line 10 because the DPA loan program is covering the down payment for the buyer, and mark the FHA loan box because the pre-approval letter says it is also an FHA loan product? Or is it B, put $100,000 on line 10 because the DPA loan program is covering the down payment for the buyer, and mark the FHA loan box because the pre-approval letter says it is also an FHA loan, and mark the down payment program box as well, since the program is using DPA, okay? Or is it C, put 0 on line 10 because the DPA loan program is covering the down payment for the buyer, and mark the down payment program box since the buyer is using a DPA loan. All right, hold it up higher. I don't see enough letters. All right. Did I see? All right, pretty good. C, all right. Ready for the answer?
Yep. Send it on.
C. It is C. You have to put 0 on line 10 because the DPA loan program is covering the down payment for the buyer, and mark the down payment program box since the buyer is using a DPA loan. Remember, the dollar or the percent boxes are the amounts buyer is putting down for the loan. You should ask the lender just the specifics of the loan amounts, but what is super important is what actual funds is buyer putting down out of pocket, either from their checkings or from their savings. Seeing a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of DPA programs happening right now. Some of them are starting to run out of funds. It happens each year. There's timing of this when it happens. And we have an earnest money dispute right now on a deal with one of the same situation where it's our listing. And the DPA ran out of the 100 grand. And now they're saying, we got our earnest money back. And they're being kind of rude about it. And their DB had to send me a nasty gram. But I politely responded and said, did the buyer actually change their financing in the middle of the deal? And maybe there's a 22 AC signed around or Form 34, maybe stating this? No, guess not. So they're asking for the earnest money back and looks like they're not gonna get it back. Question?
So are you saying that they didn't indicate that they were going DP? Oh, yeah, no, you gotta.
They marked it as conventional,
Oh, no.
100 grand.
God, no.
And this is the thing, they included the approval letter from the lender. And guess what? It says it's a conventional product. It says conventional, but then it says, whatever the name of the DPA program, and it says $100,000 down. So the brokers, obviously must have just read the approval letter, go, it's conventional, it's 100 grand. You've got to remember that the funds that you're stating on that 22A is the buyer's money. If it's DPA, mark DPA. I don't mind if you mark both boxes. For some of you that might have said answer B because you thought, it said the FHA and DPA box. If you mark both boxes, it's okay. It's one of the things, you don't really have to, but make certain you are doing DPA if they're doing DPA. And then even more importantly than that is the money that they're putting down. If they're doing DPA and 100% of those funds are coming from DPA, you better put a 0 in there or you're putting your buyer in breach of the agreement right from the beginning of the deal. All right, question number 2. Buyer broker missed filling in number 17B on Form 21. Listing broker, how do you handle this? Is it A, call your seller, let them know that the buyer broker did not fill in Form 21, number 17B, and that it's completely up to them if they want to do nothing about it? Or is it B, ethically, you should call the buyer broker and tell them they made a mistake and to revise the offer so that they can get paid commission at closing? Or is it C, do nothing at all because who knows, maybe the buyer broker wants to make their offer stronger and not ask for any compensation? Raise your answers up high. Get them up high. Come on. I know. All right, I saw you. You ready for the answer?
Yeah.
It's A. Call your seller, let them know that the buyer broker did not fill in Form 21, number 17B, and that it's completely up to them if they want to do anything about it.
So what if the buyer broker is from this office as well?
Nope.
Won't be for all.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yeah. The thing you have to remember is that, and why I put some confusing things and details in there, because you think, oh, ethically, I want to say, you want to say something like ethically. I've heard this thrown around a lot. Well, guess what?
Who you represent?
You owe a statutory duty to your principal, and that's your seller. You need to tell them about this. Do not tell the other party, because sometimes you never do know. Maybe they are trying to make their offer stronger. Anybody doing multiple offers right now, still competing? Yeah, talked to a few people, said that they had 4 offers, only won 1 out of the 4. It's tough right now. Question?
If you talk to your seller, you're probably gonna wanna tell them that the consequences that could happen if they do that, then it could fail, right? So,
I mean, have the conversations with them to explain, yeah, this situation, maybe they made a mistake there. I'm probably assuming they did. You guys, we're still seeing this. All of these things are coming up from deals that we're getting the most calls and questions on. Aaron?
I've got one right now, should
Yeah. You do.
I do. Blank.
Link. All right, you guys ready? Question number 3. You're getting pretty good at this. The buyer has elected to terminate the agreement based on the inspection. What should the buyer broker do to get back buyer's earnest money deposit from escrow and return to the buyer? Okay. Is it A, call the listing broker and say that the buyer got cold feet and is backing out of the deal? Sorry. You guys gotta be quiet. B, send the buyer broker the Form 35R with the second box marked, buyer's inspection of the property is disapproved and the agreement is terminated, and send the Form 50 for the authorization to disperse earnest money, both signed off by the buyer, and say nothing about the cold feet? Or is it C, send the buyer broker the Form 35R with the second box marked, buyer's inspection of the property is disapproved and the agreement is terminated, and send the Form 51 for the rescission of the purchase and sale agreement, both signed off by the buyer, and say nothing about the cold feet? So what do you think there? Hold them up high. What do you think, Eric? Come on, participate, brother. Okay, ready for the answer? It's actually B. Send the buyer broker the Form 35R with the second box marked, buyer's inspection of the property is disapproved and the agreement is terminated, and send the Form 50 for the authorization to disperse earnest money, both signed up by the buyer, and say nothing about cold feet. Remember, the buyer does not have a right to request the seller to rescind the agreement. Buyer has a right to give notice of termination only. Form 51 should not be used when the client has a legal excuse to terminate the agreement. I've seen this probably 3 times already in this week, and it's only Tuesday. Do not send 51s. Do not sign off on 51s if it's your listing. The buyer, we had a DB who was arguing with us on this one. We're like, no, Like, they don't have a right to actually ask our seller to rescind the agreement. Rescinding the agreement is rewinding all the way back to the beginning before you even had a deal. You don't do that because that takes away rights for that seller in the event there's some sort of legal issue later. So you just do not reset. So make sure it is the 35R and the 50. All right, question number 4. You are listing a 5-bedroom house and the on-site sewage system is only approved for 3 bedrooms. Do you list this property as a 3 or a 5-bedroom property? And how do you handle a situation like this? Either A, talk to the seller and tell them the rules and then list the property for a 5-bedroom because that's how many there are in the home, but disclose in the agent only remarks that the home has a 3-bedroom septic system. Or is it B, list the property as a 4-bedroom because one of the other rooms used to be set up as the seller's office space away from the kids and wasn't really used as a bedroom.
We don't do averages.
Or C,
Average
the
bedroom.
property must be listed as a 3-bedroom house, but you may explain in the marketing remarks that there is an additional room that could be used as an office, bonus room, or etc.
Accuracy.
Uh-huh.
That's what triggered.
I know, I got a couple people like a little bit, I don't know, Eric, it sounds like maybe you're trying to trick me. It is C.
Yeah.
Okay, the property must be listed as a 3-bedroom house, but you may explain in the remarks that there is an additional room that could be used as an office, bonus room, etc. Northwest MLS Rule 10C provides that the total number of bedrooms in the listing may not exceed the number of bedrooms for which the on-site sewage system is known to have been approved. The purpose of the rule is to make sure that sellers and listing firms do not misrepresent the attributes of the property. Question?
So Thurston County, where I have a lot of my work, has tons of septics.
Oh, yeah.
And in my neighborhood, like I have a 4-bedroom.
Yep.
And all the other houses around me are 3 bedrooms. We all have the same size septic tanks.
3-bedroom systems?
No,
2?
mine's rated for 4,
Uh-huh.
theirs is rated for 3. They're all the same size.
Doesn't matter.
Does it?
It's
It doesn't matter, it's whatever,
What's the as-built says?
Consistency.
whatever the as-built says, it's whatever's
I
recorded.
get that. I'm just
Yeah,
wondering if there's like an actual Y or whatever.
Doesn't
no
matter.
idea.
Okay.
We've had county out.
It's the government.
Yeah, it's the
That's the
government.
answer.
It's like the thing at Starbucks where you pour the tall into the grande. And then you pour the grande into the venti and they're all the same, like it's the same size, they fit. Have you seen that thing?
Are they? No.
They're not. Someone's like messing with you,
Oh. I don't do cotton.
but who knows? All right. Question number 5. You guys ready?
What are they gonna do?
The buyer broker is requesting that seller just reduce the purchase price on MLS form 35R by $25,000, even though there isn't anything wrong with the property. The listing broker called and wants to see a copy of the inspection report pages for why buyer wants such a large price reduction when the home is clean as a whistle. So, is it A, since the listing broker called and asked for the inspection report, it's totally fine to send them the complete report. Plus, if they don't reduce the purchase price, the seller will have to disclose all the little items anyway to any future buyers, so buyers should get the price reduction this way. B, tell the listing broker to please send over MLS form 35C for notice of seller request inspection report and signed off by the seller. Or is it C, tell the listing broker to go ahead and initial the MLS form 35 section 4B after their seller marks a box requesting the portions of the inspection report. And then the buyer can initial next to that and then send the pages so buyer can get that big price reduction. What is it? All right. Ready for that answer? It is B. Tell the listing broker to please send over the MLS form 35C. Notice for seller request inspection report signed off by the seller. Verbally requesting this is not good. There's already 1 or 2 court cases that are going on right now because of that. Basically, the listing broker said, oh yeah, just send me the report. Okay, and then they send it. This is all on the phone. And then they send a seller, seller's like, why did you give this to me? I didn't want this. Now, if I don't do anything, this person knows real estate and said, if I don't do something or we don't get a deal, I'm gonna have to disclose all of this now. I did not request this. And the broker goes, oh, well, they just said it. And then what the seller say? Oh, well, then they waived their inspection. Now they're at loggerheads. Do not take things verbally. Well, ethically, Eric, shouldn't we uphold our, our conversations and things and our interactions with our other brokers in the field? No, well, yeah, you should do that, but nothing verbally. Just be careful. That's already court cases going on with this. All right. Good job, you guys. You did
Good,
great.
yeah.
We're gonna maybe do some of these things more in the future, because if we keep getting these, these questions and things we're seeing in the field, we're gonna bring it into here. Just to see how you guys do, make sure we're doing well. And don't forget, most Wednesdays, we have what?
Forms class.
Forms class. You didn't get an A on that, I say show up to forms class. Forms class is not for new people only. It is for everyone to keep you sharp.
Do you want to reuse these?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's
hang on
turn
to
it
them.
back in.
All right, time for a market update. Let me get a quick drink of water. All right, we are in the pre-summer timing of the 6 phases of the yearly housing cycle right now. This is when inventory really starts pouring on, huh?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So let's take a peek at these numbers. Actually, before we do that, in your handouts, you also have the giant big printout of King County. The people who got the front row actually got Pierce County too. I only had a little bit of Pierce left, so it actually paid to sit close.
Next time, they're pretty good.
But this is something that Saul has put together for many, many years called the Power of One. It gives a really good insight to real estate in the past 31 years. And it shows, this was our, March numbers of the median was 977,500 for a price in King County. That was in March. We're gonna look at April's numbers here in a second. But this is fantastic to have at your open houses. This is great to show any buyer who's sitting on the fence and like, wow, should I buy a home right now? And the interest rates are not that good. But it really gives a breakdown of exactly, what has happened in our history of real estate. And it helps you explain things a lot better. So I would use this all the time.
I like that you added the tariffs.
I know the tariffs is the
That's
newest
sweet.
thing. All right, King County, April numbers, total active is 2,933. Remember, these are April numbers. We don't ever get these numbers from Northwest MLS until about the 6th or the 8th of the month. And then pendings listings, look how much pendings dropped in April. Why do you think that? Did you see that first in the beginning of the year? We outpaced it. It went down, then it went up in March, and then it went down again in April. What do you think it's going to do in May? Probably go down again. Yeah. So April was 1959 total pendings. King County new listings in April was 2953. Last year, exactly same time was 2551. Total active, like I just said, is 2933. Total active last year was 1727. That is up almost 70% over last year's numbers for inventory. Who's got listings right now that are sitting? Raise your hand. Listings that are sitting, not getting activity. This is probably why. The pendings in April was 1959. Last year, same time was 2142. It's down 8.5%. Closed in April was 1624. Last year, same time was 1665. It's barely off 2.5%. But the median price in King County in April went up to $1,030,000. That pretty much tells you that price appreciation is still continuing, even in uncertainty.
Yeah, but is it certain areas like the Bellevue and Medina that's unduly skewing that?
It's
proportionally?
all of King County. This is all of King County. In your handouts, you do have this exact breakout. This is all the MLS area numbers through that whole list of the map. So you can break it down and see who's up, who's down. There's a couple of them that are up, yeah, 18%, 21.71%. Price, increases. As a whole, though, it's up. It's up 5.10%. And look at the months of inventory in King County for single family residential, it's still at 1.81 supply. So it's still pretty hot. It's still a seller's market.
Yeah.
But the inventory is definitely higher than it was last year. And we still have the tidal wave of uncertainty where buyers are like, I don't know, should I do it? Majority of buyers, we're being told, have been people that are empty nesters, the baby boomers are doing a lot of sales right now. They got cash, they got huge equity, so they're making moves. And the other ones are millennials. So, which millennials make up like 23.4% of buyers of the market for Washington. So pretty big numbers, pretty interesting to know that those are where most of the sales are happening. All right, let's look at the condos for King County. New in April was 1,099. Last year, same time was 888. Total active is 1,809. Last year, same time was 1,041. That's up almost 74%. So if you got condos, definitely sitting. Anybody got condos right now that are sitting in King County that not selling? Yep. Closed is 503. Closed last year was 518. It's barely off 3%. Median price though is 579,950. Almost exactly this. It's almost not changed at all over last year. No change. But inventory levels, month supply 3.60. What does that tell you? It's closer to a balanced market. Buyers, this is some opportunity time if you're looking for condos in King County. I will be sending that message out in drones of your social media. Like right now could be the best time ever to buy a condo in King County. Call me and I'll tell you why. That's definitely something you should be doing. All right, let's look at Pierce County. Total active of listings is 1,540. Last year, same time was 1,191. Same thing. It followed the same pattern in April. It totally dropped all of the pendings. And it's literally had to do with the tariffs. I think if that wouldn't have happened, we probably would have outpaced it. I think it wouldn't have scared so many buyers. Man,
So the pendings are what we're seeing here that have that kind of anomaly of going down, but the listings are still following the standard cycle or
for the 6 phases of the yearly housing cycle?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it follows that
all.
always. Andrew?
The reason there's a 7% increase of active listings just because there's rollover from the previous month. Like the amount of inventory
Total.
is similar,
Yeah.
but it's just rollover, leftover stuff. And one thing that I've seen when I have a conversation with sellers is they're thinking that their home's worth so much more than the previous year. But when you look at this and look at the median price on that area where it's at, you can't price the home above the increase
Right.
from the previous year. And then
Exactly. When you're going to your listing appointment, it's gonna be critical. Take that with you. Go to the MLS area, highlight it, show the seller, here's what the median price was, same time year over year from last year. Oh, this MLS area is actually dropping. You gotta do the same thing for Pierce County, and you're gonna see the difference. Pierce County had a lot more drops. All right, let's look at the actual numbers for Pierce County residential. Total new listings in April of this year was 1,328. Last year, same time was 1,293. Total actives is the 1,540. Total active last year, same time was 1,191. It's up 29%. Pendings is 1,068. Last year, same time was 1,177. It's actually down 9.26%. Close is 848. Last year, same time was 830. It's just up 2.17. And then the median price is actually 565, dead even. Zero, like dead even. And it's 1.82 months supply for Pierce County residential. But go look in some of these areas. Look at like how many sales? 42% off. And some, if you're, I would be looking at some of those areas that's at crazy drops. And realistically, look at the inventory levels of some of those areas. If you're in area 119 through 121, it's up 23%. I mean, or 23 is the month supply.
The one thing I noticed when I looked at those percentage different SKUs that are drastic like that, it's either there was new construction that happened at those times.
Yeah.
Or there's not new construction now where it's creating those numbers to get like drastically.
Yeah. But this is so important right now. I'm gonna touch on that a little bit later here. Pierce County condos, 108 new. Last year, same time was only 92. Total active is 215 for Pierce County condos. And then total active last year, same time was 143. It's up 50%. Pendings was 65 last year, same time, 73. It's down 11%. And then closed were 60. Last year, same time was 70. It's down 14%. Median price for Pierce County condo was 392.5. Last year, same time was 417.5. That one's actually down 6%. And then month supply is 3.58. So definitely condominiums, there's a lot of opportunities there for buyers right now. And if you're listing them, you better really do your homework. I don't know what's going on with the MLS. I didn't have time to check in today, but I still don't have the new key box activity report. It did not update except for just a couple more weeks, but it's trending up at the end of April. But it didn't show any of the new May numbers for those, because usually these are a little bit more recent. And it didn't show the April, but my hunch is if it's following what it did with the other stuff, this would be down for April for the showings. If it's higher, then it's like, that means people are looking, but they're not making decisions. So we'll have to wait and see till when those fully come out. So brings up my next topic. Top 5 things a broker should do when listing in a rising inventory market. First and foremost, price it right with precision and data. You're gonna have to be taking these things with you on listing appointments. I mean, really gonna have to show people the numbers. You're not showing them the information and the data, they're not gonna believe you. They're gonna go, no, my neighbor said that he was in real estate, 40 years ago. And yeah, he was a pilot and, he's seen the world and he knows my house better than you do. You're gonna get these weird conversations that you've got to be able to back it up with data. You're gonna have to do more of a better job on your CMAs. And you're gonna have to really check in for stuff for not only the last 30 days, but every day. You're really gonna have to do a lot more investigation, do more calls to the pendings around where this listing's going to be. You're just gonna have to do more work. If you're going to take on a listing, it's gonna take a lot more work to get it sold. 2, level up the listing presentation. The shiniest listings are the ones that are gonna get shown right now. If you're not getting showings, you better look at every angle of marketing you've been doing. That includes your boost ads. Every single thing that you put online is going to matter. And there's only one first impression. You only get one shot. So just keep that in mind. Build a robust marketing plan and execute it aggressively. Run target ads. People from Texas are moving in here in drones. And so is California. Those are probably the top 2 states of people moving here. You might want to look to do some target ads in those areas. A lot of tech people are still moving here. Look at all the license plates someone just said too. Look at all the Texas license plates in our parking lot. We're on top of Blue Origin here and they got thousands of employees that have been moving here from Texas. Do some ads to Texas. You might just get some different people. Communicate weekly and be ready to pivot. You got to have a plan. If your seller's like, oh, I want to test my pricing, go, It's really not a good idea right now because all of the inventory is coming on now. And what's happening, as soon as we hit June, we're gonna have graduations. Kids out of school, weddings are gonna start happening and vacations are gonna start happening. It happens every single year. So there's the disbursement of backlog of energy, to the backlog of buyers is gonna happen during that time. And it's gonna slow down the showings, and that's when all this inventory is gonna keep pouring on. So you need to make sure that the sellers really understand that, and if they really don't wanna cooperate in all those types of things, like, you're really gonna have to question, do you really wanna take on a listing? That's just gonna sit there and suck up all of your time. And then last, track market trends daily, not monthly. Use the pendant reports in Northwest MLS. Those are gold. You're gonna have to show sellers that if things are trending down farther and farther. Gotta give that. Pending reports. I'll show you later. We've gone over that one a few times, but the new pending reports are gold. All right. Now for a nice legal update. Who's using Mojo Dialer? Anybody use Mojo or anything like that? The robo dialer type systems? Nobody? I know there's a couple people that use this. It does texting for you and calls for you. If you're using it, you might want to think about stop using it. Or any type of system that is an automated robo dialing system. Some new lawsuits have just been coming in. These activities that violate the National Do Not Call Registry, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, and state laws are now carrying severe legal and financial consequences, including fines up to $50,120 per illegal call or text, and potential class action lawsuits. There's already one JLS broker, not in our office, not in our corporate firms, that was hit with this. And do you guys know that if E&O does not cover you for this? That means they're personally liable.
Wow.
We have to talk about this type of thing. That's why I want to make sure you guys are here and that we're having conversations.
Does that say anything about emails?
What was the question?
I was asking about emails.
Not emails. So brokers, please checking all your calls against lists against the national and state if applicable DNC registry, obtaining prior express written consent before marketing or making marketing calls or sending text to anyone on the DNC registry, maintaining records of consent for all contacts, maintaining an internal list of phone numbers of individuals you have requested not to be called and not contacting them again. So keep track of those. And then discontinuing the use of auto dialers of pre-recorded messages. Every 31 days, we're supposed to update our phone list. In the back end of your MyDesk, there is a place that you can go and check phone numbers. So go, all of Washington and stuff like that, you can log in, check the phone number. Yes, they're one at a time. That's the way it is. There are systems and places you can join, but they have very, very high fees. Has anyone ever checked into this? No. Really expensive. Probably cost you a few grand a month to run the same thing that you get for free. And it's only one at a time. All right. So here are some non-compliant approaches and some compliant approaches. This is for calling open house visitors, what's allowed versus what's risky. So keep this in mind. Non-compliant, this scenario is Emily hosts an open house, collects a sign-in sheet. A few days later, she starts calling every name on the list, even those who gave a name and number. Compliant would be scenario Marcus also holds an open house, but before making follow-up calls, he checks whether the visitors provide clear written permission to be contacted. If anybody uses any type of like Open Home Pro or any of those systems, a lot of them have these things that say, is it okay, to be contacted? You should ask people if it's okay to be contacted. That's just the way it is. Some of the attendees are on the DNC and they didn't give express permission to be called. The violation without express consent or existing business relationships, calling DNC registered individuals is a TCPA violation. So the risk, even though the visitor walked into the open house voluntarily, it does not count as consent to receive sales calls. Sales calls. If you're following up, hey, you know, you ask them, hey, is it okay if I follow up with you after this home, you know, goes pending? Most people are curious about what homes are selling for. You know, if you say something like that and they say, yeah, call me, I want to know, whatever. That's permission, so you can call them. Compliance setup. Already that one. Safe practice, Marcus documents the consent and stores the sheet or digital form as proof of permission. I mean, you gotta start documenting things. Outcome, Marcus stays compliant, builds rapport with genuinely interested leads without risking complaints or penalties. Calling a past client when it's legal versus when it's not. I know this one's weird, but scenario, Jason sold Sarah a home 2.5 years ago. He calls her to ask if she's thinking of selling without checking the DNC list or getting recent consent. The scenarios, Rachel sold a client a home 15 months ago. She calls to check in and offer a free market analysis well within the TCPA's 18-month rule. So the 18-month rule is what it is. You want to make sure you're following up. Plus, if you guys aren't following up within the, 6 months anyway, they forget your name. Don't forget that. So if you're calling within 6 months, you're fine. Even though Sarah was a past client, the established business relationship, which is called the EBR, it actually expires after 18 months. So if you didn't keep in contact, that expires. So that's another good way to force you guys to make sure you're making your calls, huh? Safe practice, Rachel documents the contact, notes that it falls under a valid EBR exemption. These all came from our attorney, obviously. So these are the scenarios that she's put out here. And then calling a for sale by owner, what to do versus what not to do versus doing what's right. The non-compliant approach, Samantha sees a for sale by owner sign, jots down the number, calls the homeowner to offer her services without checking DNC. So really the issue is homeowners on the DNC list and files a complaint after the unsolicited call. I mean, that could be the real life scenario. I have no idea what the scenario is with that JLS broker. I mean, but there's multiple lawsuits right now with some firms, class action ones, multi-million dollars. They're almost as much as the realtor lawsuits. Question, John?
So is it okay to text a past client and just ask if it's okay for a call?
The texting and the calling falls under the same 18-month rule. It does. I
But
know.
not email.
Email's fine for right now. They were gonna have that start this year, but they adjusted it. They said, we need to fix that. Cause that's gonna open up a major can of worms. Yeah. Jason.
I was gonna say, you can give them a call and ask them, anything except real estate, and it's, right?
Yeah.
And you just talk to them and see how they're doing.
Yeah, how are you doing? That's fine.
And then they will ask the question that leads
Yes.
into real estate
Yeah.
every time.
Then you're fine.
So we should be
Of course.
recording all these calls?
No, no. You don't have permission to do that either. Oh, but anyways, its possible consequences is $500 to $1,500 per violation and damage to your reputation or brokerage liability. Please just be careful, check the phone numbers. Please check those. All right, with that, got the mortgage minute, Mr. Aaron Hafner, come on up. And I scared you straight. Oh, yeah,
Can I knock on anyone's door as many times as I wanted to?
sure.
Could you do that? I mean, that doesn't impact. Door knock, okay.
Any order.
I didn't want to.
Till a restraining order comes.
Well, thank you. So let's kind of dive in and see how much fun we're having so far, right? So good part is there's no tariffs on mortgages. So we're good there. Awesome. Good news, right? So with that, I would say over the last months since we last talked, we had the tariffs, we had GDP, the GDP was lower, inflation came lower, then we had the jobs report. So everything was kind of in line for interest rates maybe to get a balance to get a little bit lower off this track that we're at. And so what happened was we they came in and said we had 177,000 versus 130,000 jobs, okay? So we had a lot more jobs than was anticipated, and that changed the markets. The market's like, hey, look, we're not too bad, you know, things aren't that bad. Well, the challenge is that they always revise these numbers. So at the beginning of January 2025, they've reduced it by 32,000 jobs. And in February, they reduced it by 49,000. And so it's gonna happen again. In March, they revised the number down 43,000 jobs. So the problem is the market sees this and they know that these numbers might be fake, not fake, but you know what I mean, they're not accurate. And so the thing is that, so the thing is like, how do they, you know what I mean? The market can't react to that, so they can't react proactively or retroactively. So that's kind of what they see. So when you see these numbers, this will probably come down a bit, right? The other thing is that we had the inflation numbers came in and there was at 2.39 was where it was and 2.79. And it came in at around 2.8 to 2.3 to 3.4. So that was all good, right? But it was the unemployment numbers that kind of threw things out. Now, then we have to deal with the tariffs, right? Did you know that the last week or the week before, there were no shipments from China arriving in the US? Is that crazy? Or I've heard people like, you can tell the ports, like if you're in one of the condos in Seattle, you can see the cranes and there's nothing really kind of going on, right? So they moved it down to 30% and there's a 90-day pause, which is good, right? But it's great for the stock market. So the stocks went up, like we were just talking about, but that has an impact on mortgage rates because now we're not going into a recession. When you go into recession, interest rates drop, right? And that's good for us, but that's kind of where we're at right there, but I was really surprised, no shipments.
Aaron,
Sir,
I don't see the pause as being necessarily a good thing. It just injects another element of uncertainty into already uncertain markets.
you know, and I agree with you, the problem is the market just needs something, you know what I mean? They just overreact to everything, and I think not being political, that's just how the administration is working, and so it just, we have this was back in 2016 too, when it was there, there's just a lot of volatility, right? So it's hard to kind of plan, and don't get me wrong, my 401k was taking a bath, you know, and I'm, hey, it jumped up, great, you know, but so how does that impact interest rates? So right now, the 10-year treasury is at 4.46, I think it's slightly higher today, and so we're all the way over here, almost 4.5, and it's just been this kind of same slog that we've been in. We had that one little blip, but that was just a blip. And the margins now, instead of being 2.75, I think they've come down a bit, so it's probably around 2.5. Which is good. So that hopefully keeps, the rates aren't as high as they probably would have been if it was at 2.75. So interest rates there are just right around 7%. Okay. We can keep it below that 7%, slightly better, but that's with no points, right? So if we can shoot some points into it, maybe get 6.75, something like that. But we just had this slow saga where the rates are. And so again, 6.99, around 7%. I mean, it's just a broken record. And then this is where 6.99, 6.99, you know, and last year we're at the same, kind of around the same spot. So again, I feel the pain because we're all, what can we do to break the cycle, right? And so hopefully we're due with some good news or something where we can just kind of get moving. We get to 6.5%, we're definitely some action.
Well, you think we've kind of been in this cycle for over 2 years. You'd think that the buyers would kind of be used to it by now, you know.
You could, and I agree with this, the same conversation I had before with talking to different people. Yes.
That bought, you know, 2-3 years ago with the expectation that rates were gonna come down. Like, I'm a little worried about those folks. Is there, I mean, is there, like, can they refinance with, like, they've got cash to buy the interest rate a little bit down, or what?
You
would
can,
their
it doesn't really
option
make, I mean, you can try to refinance
They
and pay
would-
money to get a lower rate, but
be? It
then
would
if
be the
rates drop,
same-
you're.
Same money, basically.
Yeah, you guys are both speaking the same thing, and I feel the same way, because the whole point was, hey, date the rate, you know, marry the house, and I'm like, well.
None of us in here said that, of course.
Well, but I agree, it's your point, like, you know, things aren't moving down, and you have this uncertainty, especially in the stock market, right? I have my money in a brokerage account, hey, I'm using that money for the down payment, I just lost 20%. So I really want to buy into this house and that kind of thing. So I agree with you, I think it's gonna have to come down at some point, but the cool part is, recession protection when you have a house, that's good. It means your home values go up if interest rates when we go into recession. And here's the other thing. So I've had several people, friends of mine, who are really good jobs and everything else, but they don't want to buy because it's too expensive, or the houses are too high, and rates are too high. And this is from Matthew Gardner last week. But I found this slide. I had this before, but basically this is just showing you the net worth. Okay. So someone who bought a house in 2019, maybe they had 7,300 as net worth as your renter, right? But then in the home appreciation, you can just tell the home appreciation's gathered so much because the values are going up. And if you're renting, you might get some benefit, but not nearly as much as someone who has a house. And that's how wealth is generated in our country, right? And I just have to keep having that mantra that, look, I know you don't want to buy it, but take a look at this, right? Take a look at the home appreciation. So we pull this one out, right? Home appreciation's only gone down a couple of times the whole time. That's where you're never going to catch up. You got to get in the game. And then here, during the rate, and the refined fund, right? So we have all these things. But I just have to say that positive attitude, because if not, then, you know, everyone's like, why don't I want to buy? Like, I agree with you, dude. No, you gotta, it's good to get in. You have to, because if you get in, you know, like Ronald Reagan thing, right? You're better off than where you were 4 years ago, right? You are if you have a house. So the other thing that came out on May 5th is all these student loans. Oh, yeah. So out of May 5th, a lot of these loans came out of deferment, and 10 million loans are past due right now. Okay. Obviously, it's impact on spending. It's going to impact people qualifying for a loan because now you have to come with spending, and maybe I'm past due. Now my credit's impacted. I have several friends of mine who have student loans from years ago, didn't pay anything, and now they got this notice that they're 90 days late and their credit's been tagged. From like 700 to 5 something. So how does that work? So right now, this is just off the Fannie Mae guideline, right? So when a loan is in deferment, and you say you have $100,000 in student loan, and when we pull the credit, it's in deferment, it says the payment is 0. So as a lender, the guideline is, as a lender, we have to come up with a payment for it. And we typically take 1% of the loan amount and use that as a payment. Okay. So that under 100,000, the credit report says 0. I'm going to use $1,000 as a payment. Okay. But once it tops out of deferment, this payment might actually be higher, right? So now if it's like 1,500, I got to use 1,500. So I have a client right now. She's a doctor. She's got 350,000 in student loans, right? Right now it's 0. I'm using 3,500 bucks. If that comes out of deferment and it's 5,000, that's definitely going to impact her ability to buy. So I'm like, buy now. Because right now, because we verify this stuff. All those are going to verify this to make sure there's no payment or it's deferment. Okay. The other thing too is I want to give you an update quick on the covenant program. Okay. So they just changed this. So the covenant program says you have to make 100% of area median income. Okay. And that's going to increase from 100% to 120%. Okay. So that means in King County, in the next slide, it's like 150,000 is what you have. That's 100% AMI. If it goes to 120, you're probably looking at close to 180,000 that you could qualify for the income. Okay. And here's the other part. Here's the big kicker. They're going to allow for forgiveness of the covenant down payment loans for home buyers earning under 80% of the area median income.
Nice.
Forgiveness. Okay.
Wow.
Forgiveness.
Wow.
Exactly. So the thing is that you have to make less than 80% AMI. 80% AMI in King County right now is 109,000. So make less than 109,000 and you keep your loan for more than 5 years, they will forgive this.
How
So
are the funds in that program?
there's plenty of funds. They're making it, they're not going away. And it's all based upon the recording fees in King County. That's why there's 750 bucks recording. Okay? That's how it's funded. So for example, 80% of area median income is 109 in King, Snohomish, and Pierce, right? So 100% of area median income is 157, probably goes to 180 at some point. Same thing for Snohomish, but in Pierce it's a little bit lower at 120. So maybe Pierce goes to 150, right? But again, you make less than 109,000. This is what happens. What does loan forgiveness mean? Loan forgiveness simply means that when you refinance, I like that part, refinance, sell, or pay off your home, the covenant down payment assistance loan does not need to be repaid as it would otherwise. The forgiveness only applies to the down payment assistance, not the main mortgage on the property. Okay. So I love this in refinance. So if you keep the loan for 5 years, because a lot of times when you buy this home, you're basically 100%. You're underwater typically, right? But if after 5 years rates come down, I can refinance and forgive that second.
Dang.
How awesome is that, right?
Yeah.
And this program, we're not talking about 3.5, we're talking 20%
Let me
down.
get down to, I'll show you to you. Nice question. So who's eligible for the program? You have to be at 100% or 120% of AMI. You got to be a first-time home buyer. That's the biggest thing. Okay. At least one of them you both have to be first-time home buyers. If you have two people, the home buyer or parent or the home buyer, the grandparent, or grandparent lived in Washington prior to 1968. That's the hard part, right?
April 11th, let's be.
Oh, is that what it is? April 11th?
11th, because
Thank you.
got one now who we can prove
What's April?
April 16th, but it has to be April 11th.
Wow, oh, that's tough. So then the other thing is, the person lived in Washington prior to April 11th, 1968. Is Black, Hispanic, Native American, Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander, Korean, or Asian Indians. Okay, so you gotta be part of this protected class and first time home buyer in 1968. Yes, sir.
What is the first time home buyer like used to be like if you hadn't been titled for 3 years?
Yep, that works. That works. Yep. It's all the same stuff. I think there's a couple caveats too. Someone who's divorced or there's some other, I have to go back into it. But the answer is if you haven't owned a home the last 3 years, typically you're a first time home buyer. Okay? Right? Right? So here's an example, Amanda. So you get 20% down on the down payment assistance, up to $150,000 plus closing costs and prepaids and all that good stuff. Not that you can see this, but it says if you buy a house for $500,000, your down payment assistance would be $100,000, and you can roll in all the costs. So basically, $115,000 is the down payment assistance. Okay, no interest, no payment. So that's what you get. After 5 years, if you're under 80% earned median income, 115 goes to zero.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's great. And, you know, it's a great program. It's helping stuff that's happened in the past to really help, because the biggest thing is that the one that what we're talking about, the protected class here, they don't own houses. That's the thing. They know home ownership in this country is generated on, or wealth in this country is generated on home ownership, and that's the whole idea of this program. Okay, it's awesome. So, cash flow loans, we have those. Questions about those? We also have our reverse mortgage stuff. Great program for someone who's maybe trying to downsize, that kind of thing. And then we have a refi fund. Okay. Yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you. All right, quickly, some other stuff here. John L. Scott Open House app has just been re-released, totally redesigned. I've got it working right on this one right here. Eric, you used it. Actually, you registered a client, pretty funny. But it works really well now, and it auto inputs the people who register into your Engage, and it tells which house they went to show. That's something that's definitely better and unique to a lot of the other CRMs.
Is there gonna be you know, like other platforms, you can say, you know.
Maybe
they
later.
contacted about the property?
Oh, yeah, that's already in there.
It is in there?
Yeah, I'll show you. Basically, that's what when you log in, it will actually show what open houses of your listings, your inventory is on there, and you can click it so you know when you got your open house. But if it's not even your open house and you're doing one for someone else, you just do the search bar, put in the MLS number, that listing comes up, you select it, and then it goes through the same thing. Then you can turn on enable guest access, which that makes it to where, you know, it's only, they can't click buttons and get out of it, which is you kind of want to do. You can choose what photo you want to show. And then this is what it is. You hit the touch to begin. This pops up, put in your first name, your last name, email address, phone number. Do you want a property tracker account? And do you want emails, updates on this listing? They can toggle on either one of those. Now, what does that also do? Oh, for the DNC, now they just registered and they said that they want updates. And then obviously ask them about conversations. Hit continue. It says thank you. And then it goes back to that original setting screen, the touch to begin.
You have more questions to that?
Not yet. It's coming soon. And then, of course, on the back end of Engage on your listings, you can go to sell reports. It'll show totals of views of also on johnlscott.com and John L. Scott mobile apps, both Android, iOS, and Zillow.com is now brought into here. You can sign your clients to get these every Monday. So all you got to do is put in and add their contact, add them and Engage as a contact first, and then they'll show up in the drop down to choose. But then it'll show the listing. It shows the online activity, and then anybody who registers in the open house attendees will actually show how many attendees registered. This is actually the person you registered. Isn't that crazy? So it actually will show how many attendees, and then it of course shows all your recently nearby sales, how much those are. You can view the listings too, that the client can actually go and see them. Might help you with price adjustments if they can see these sales that are happening around them. So that's exactly what it'll do. It'll pop up in there. And then of course it shows the recent nearby sales. They can view them. So here's the back end of Engage, shows the contact. What was the lead source? An open house. They wanted a property tracker account. This is obviously a fake client. Do not make fake clients. This came from the development team. If you make someone in there, it's going to make them. And then, and you don't want to do that because it falsifies the records to the sellers. Stuff like that. So you don't make fake clients to test it. Then of course it shows what in the actual details, it'll show they attended an open house at what address. And then any comments, the client requested status updates on the listing and they added as a favorite in their property tracker. And then it shows the listing details. So that's one thing that was really cool. Now it shows what actual open house. Before it used to say, oh, here's open house people. And it's every person who ever went to an open house. And then you're like, I'm not gonna call them. I don't even know what house I met them at. Question?
Does the seller get to see the name and?
No.
Okay.
No, they do not. Okay, upcoming events. Legal Symposium is this Thursday. I don't know if it's sold out yet. This is a great event every year. It sells out every single year. It's at the SeaTac Doubletree from 9 to 4 and you get clock hours. And that's this Thursday, so we'll be in that. You're going to that too, right? I don't know if it's, yes? Are we? I don't know. I am. But I'll be in there for sure all day, but it's $149 for member pricing for realtors. But it's fantastic. Aaron will be there too. Education and stuff for the week. There are a bunch of clock hours coming up. Reverse mortgages, they already had the foreclosure matters, and then corps and then LLCs. And then of course we have on May 29th from 10 to 1, the 12 common purchase and sale pitfalls that title and escrow deals with. That's 3 free clock hours that'll be right here. And with that, company news and highlights, the coloring contest is still going all the way through the end of the month through May 31st. You can print these out from your My Desk and they're gonna do drawings and stuff. These are great to have at open houses. People love these. So in your My Desk, you can get access to that. And then they're in John L. Scott Foundation in the John L. Scott Library and then find coloring contest. But they can win a $100 Amazon gift card. And then got QR codes and how to upload your entry. So it's pretty cool. All right, with that, here is our quote of the month. The hope that gritty people have has nothing to do with luck and everything to do with getting up again. So thank you guys for making it today. We greatly appreciate you making it.
Turn in your ABCs.
Yeah, turn in your ABC.